The stars stretched endlessly before him, a tapestry woven from light and shadow. Commander Kale Voss stood on the bridge of his ship, Eternal Vanguard Dash, its sleek hull reflecting the cold brilliance of distant suns. He had spent years chasing whispers of an ancient civilization rumored to possess knowledge beyond comprehension, a forge capable of reshaping reality itself. His crew watched silently as he adjusted his visor, the holographic interface flickering to life around him. "We're entering uncharted territory," he announced, his voice steady despite the weight pressing down on him. "Prepare for anomalies." The ship shuddered slightly as they crossed into a region where sensors faltered, their readings distorted by some unseen force. Kale clenched his fists, recalling the countless lives lost during this mission. Not just soldiers, but friends, family, entire worlds consumed by the endless cycle of war. He believed in the Forge's promise, a tool so powerful it could dismantle every weapon ever forged, rendering conflict obsolete. But deep inside, doubt gnawed at him. What if the cost was too great? As alarms blared and the ship lurched violently, Kale realized he wasn't just fighting for peace. He was running out of time. Don't miss the thrilling beginning of The Eternal Forge Dash. Subscribe now for more epic adventures. Kale's memories flooded back, each one sharper than the last. The first spark of rebellion had ignited when he was just a boy, watching his village burn under alien invasion. His father, a blacksmith, had taught him the art of forging not only metal but hope. "A blade is only as strong as the will behind it," his father used to say. Now, decades later, Kale carried that lesson into the stars. His crew, though loyal, remained skeptical. Lieutenant Mirachan, his second-in-command, approached cautiously. "Commander, we're detecting strange energy signatures ahead. They don't match anything in our database." Kale nodded absently, his mind racing. The anomalies grew stronger, distorting everything: gravity, matter, even thought. A massive structure loomed ahead, half buried in debris, its surface pulsating with ancient runes. It defied logic, yet there it was, an impossible monument to a forgotten age. As the ship descended toward the surface, Kale felt a presence, ancient and vast, watching them. He couldn't explain it, but he knew they weren't alone. The hatch opened, revealing a labyrinth of corridors filled with cryptic symbols etched into walls that seemed alive. "Stay sharp," Kale ordered, his instincts screaming warnings. Every step forward felt like walking into a trap, yet retreat wasn't an option. Not anymore. The corridors twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the heart of the structure. Strange mechanisms hummed to life as they passed, doors sliding open with eerie precision. Kale's suit registered unusual fluctuations in the air, energies unlike any he'd encountered. Lieutenant Chen's scanner lit up, displaying readings that made her pale. "This place is generating a feedback loop in our systems. We can't stabilize it." Kale paused, listening to the silence. It wasn't empty. It thrummed with a low vibration, almost musical. He raised his hand, feeling warmth spread across his palm. "It's calling to us," he murmured. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, humanoid, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver, it regarded them with eyes that held galaxies within them. "Who dares disturb the Eternal Forge?" it intoned, its voice resonating through the chamber. Kale stepped forward, his resolve unwavering. "I am Kale Voss, commander of the Eternal Vanguard Dash. I seek the power to end all wars." The being tilted its head, studying him intently. "Power comes at a price, mortal. Do you understand what you ask?" Kale hesitated, then nodded. "Ido." The being gestured toward a pedestal at the center of the chamber, where a glowing orb pulsed with energy. "To wield the forge, you must prove your worth. Face the trials of the ancients." Kale glanced at his crew, who stood ready despite their fear. "Stay here," he said softly. "This is my burden." He approached the pedestal, the orb growing brighter as he neared. A voice echoed in his mind, ancient and commanding. "You must pass 3 tests: courage, wisdom, and sacrifice." The ground trembled, and the room transformed into a surreal landscape, a desert of shifting sands beneath a crimson sky. Shadows coalesced into creatures of nightmare, their forms fluid and terrifying. Kale drew his blade, the familiar weight grounding him. One by one, the creatures attacked, their movements fluid and unpredictable. Each strike demanded precision, each parry required focus. Hours passed, or perhaps mere moments, as Kale fought, driven by the memory of those he'd lost. When the last shadow dissolved, he collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. The desert faded, replaced by a library filled with floating books. Symbols danced across their pages, forming equations and diagrams that defied understanding. Kale reached out, touching a book that seemed to resonate with him. Instantly, knowledge poured into his mind, secrets of the universe, patterns of creation, and the language of the cosmos. Yet even as he absorbed it, he knew it was only the beginning. The third trial awaited him, a choice between two paths. One led to glory, the other to ruin. Kale stood at the crossroads, his heart pounding. The voice returned, its tone softer this time. Your final test is within yourself. Will you choose the easy path, or will you embrace the harder truth? Kale closed his eyes, recalling the faces of those who had trusted him. He thought of the lives lost, the sacrifices made, and the fragile hope he carried. I choose the harder path, he declared. The ground beneath him split open, revealing a chasm filled with fire. At its edge stood the orb, now pulsating with an intensity that nearly blinded him. Without hesitation, Kale leapt, his body alight with determination. Time slowed as he fell, the orb growing larger, warmer. Just before impact, he caught it, its energy surging through him. The fall ended abruptly, and Kale found himself back in the chamber, the being waiting patiently. You have proven worthy, it said, bowing slightly. The eternal forge is yours. Kale staggered, overwhelmed by the power coursing through him. What now? He asked. The being smiled, its form dissolving into particles of light. The forge will guide you. Use it wisely. Back aboard the Vanguard Dash, Kale struggled to control the newfound energies within him. The crew watched in awe as his eyes glowed faintly, a sign of the forge's influence. Lieutenant Chen approached cautiously. Commander, are you all right? Kale nodded, his voice steady. I'm fine. We need to leave this system immediately. As they prepared to depart, alarms blared. An armada of enemy ships appeared on the horizon, their weapons primed. Kale activated the forge's power, his body enveloped in a golden aura. The enemy ships hesitated, their weapons failing to lock onto the Vanguard Dash. Hold your fire, Kale shouted. Let me speak. The enemy commander, a towering figure in dark armor, appeared on the viewscreen. You cannot escape justice, traitor. Kale smirked. Justice? You mean vengeance? Look around you. How many more must die before you see reason? The commander hesitated, confusion flickering across their face. Enough, Kale continued. Let us negotiate. The tension eased as both sides agreed to disarm temporarily. For the first time in centuries, diplomacy prevailed over violence. Word of Kale's actions spread quickly, earning him both allies and enemies. Some hailed him as a savior, while others viewed him as a threat to their power. Among those who opposed him was General Eric Draven, a ruthless warlord whose fleet rivaled Kale's own. Eric sought to claim the forge for himself, believing its power would grant him dominion over the galaxy. Kale knew he couldn't fight Eric alone. He reached out to old friends, recruiting a coalition of rebel factions and rogue commanders. Together, they devised a plan to confront Eric before he could unleash the forge's full potential. The battlefield loomed ahead, a desolate wasteland littered with the remnants of past battles. Kale stood atop a hill, surveying the chaos. His crew gathered around him, their expressions grim but resolute. Today, we fight not for conquest, he said, his voice carrying over the din of battle. We fight for peace, for a future where no child has to grow up knowing only war. With a cry, the combined forces charged, their numbers overwhelming Eric's smaller fleet. The battle raged fiercely, each side determined to emerge victorious. Kale's strategy proved effective, exploiting gaps in Eric's defenses. However, Eric's desperation drove him to unleash a devastating weapon, a device capable of collapsing entire planets. Kale intercepted the attack, channeling the Forge's energy to deflect the blast. The strain was immense, threatening to overwhelm him. Lieutenant Chun and the crew worked frantically to repair the damage, their efforts bolstered by Kale's unyielding determination. "Keep going," he urged, his voice strained but unwavering. As the dust settled, Eric's flagship loomed above, its captain issuing a final ultimatum. "Surrender the Forge, or face annihilation." Kale smirked, his eyes blazing with determination. "Come and take it." The ensuing confrontation was brutal, each side trading blows in a dance of destruction. Kale's allies pressed forward, their resolve strengthened by his leadership. Slowly but surely, they pushed Eric's forces back, forcing them into retreat. Victory was theirs, but the cost had been high. Wounded and exhausted, Kale collapsed onto the deck, the Forge's glow dimming. Recovery came slowly, aided by the Forge's healing properties. Kale spent hours meditating, learning to harness its power without succumbing to its demands. Lieutenant Chun visited frequently, her concern evident. "You can't keep pushing yourself like this," she said gently. Kale smiled weakly. "Someone has to lead." She sighed, leaving him to his thoughts. The Forge's influence extended beyond physical strength. It granted insights into the universe's deepest mysteries. Kale began unraveling the secrets of its creation, piecing together fragments of ancient lore. He discovered that the Forge was not merely a tool but a living entity, bound by a complex network of protocols designed to prevent misuse. To fully unlock its potential, he needed to align its core with his own essence. This process required immense concentration and sacrifice, testing every fiber of his being. As he delved deeper, Kale realized the Forge demanded more than obedience. It required trust. Months passed as Kale refined his connection with the Forge. During this time, he traveled to distant worlds, seeking guidance from those who had encountered similar phenomena. On a remote moon orbiting a dying star, he met Alara, a scholar of ancient civilizations. Her wisdom proved invaluable, helping him understand the delicate balance between power and responsibility. Together, they uncovered clues about the Forge's origins, tracing its history through millennia of conflict and survival. Alara shared stories of a race known as the Luminari, beings who once wielded the Forge's power to bring enlightenment to the galaxy. Their downfall served as a cautionary tale, warning of the dangers of unchecked ambition. "The Forge is neither good nor evil," she explained. "It simply amplifies what lies within you. If you wish to use it wisely, you must first know yourself." Kale absorbed her words, recognizing the truth in her assessment. His journey had taught him humility, forcing him to confront his flaws and insecurities. The Forge, he realized, was not just a weapon, it was a mirror reflecting his soul. With Alara's help, Kale developed a framework for using the Forge responsibly. He established protocols to ensure its power wouldn't be misused, creating safeguards against corruption. His efforts earned him allies among former adversaries, who joined him in building a new order based on cooperation rather than domination. Yet not everyone embraced this vision. A splinter faction, led by a charismatic zealot named Thane, rejected Kale's approach. Thane believed the Forge should be used to enforce absolute rule, eradicating dissent and establishing a utopia through fear. His followers grew increasingly radical, their actions sparking unrest across the galaxy. Kale knew he couldn't ignore Thane's challenge. The two clashed in a series of skirmishes, each encounter testing Kale's resolve. During one particularly intense battle, Thane unleashed a devastating weapon, its destructive force unparalleled. Kale countered with the Forge's power, channeling its energy to neutralize the threat. The confrontation left both sides battered, yet neither willing to yield. "Why do you resist?" Kale shouted during a rare lull in the fighting. "Thane, think of the lives you could save." Thane sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. Life is meaningless without order. The stalemate dragged on, each side entrenched in their beliefs. Cale's allies urged him to act decisively, fearing Thane's growing influence. But Cale refused to resort to violence unless absolutely necessary. Instead, he sought diplomatic solutions, engaging in lengthy negotiations with Thane's representatives. These talks proved fruitless, revealing deep-seated mistrust on both sides. Frustration mounted as Cale grappled with the limitations of traditional diplomacy. The Forge offered a way forward, its power capable of bridging divides and fostering understanding. Yet Cale hesitated, aware of the risks involved. During a rare moment of solitude, he consulted Alara via holocom. "Do you believe in second chances?" she asked. Cale pondered her question, recalling the countless lives lost to war. "Yes," he replied finally, "but they come at a cost." Alara nodded knowingly. "Then proceed carefully. The Forge will amplify your intentions, for better or worse." Armed with renewed purpose, Cale prepared for a bold move, one that would test the very limits of his faith in humanity. The day of reckoning arrived, the skies above the battlefield painted with hues of orange and purple. Cale stood atop a hill overlooking the chaos, the Forge's energy swirling around him. Thane's forces arrayed themselves below, their banners fluttering ominously. "Enough bloodshed," Cale called out, his voice echoing across the valley. "Thane, listen to reason." Thane emerged from his command post, flanked by elite guards. "Reason? You speak of reason after everything we've endured." His voice cracked with emotion. "You've taken everything from me." Cale lowered his gaze, remembering the pain etched into Thane's features. "No, I haven't. I want to give you something instead." With a gesture, Cale activated the Forge's most powerful ability, the ability to heal. Energy surged outward, enveloping both armies. Soldiers dropped their weapons, their wounds mending instantly. Thane staggered backward, shock etched across his face. "What sorcery is this?" he demanded. Cale stepped forward, his expression calm. "Not sorcery. Hope. Let go of your anger, Thane. Together, we can build a world worth fighting for." Thane wavered, his resolve crumbling under the weight of Cale's conviction. "Why should I trust you?" he spat. Cale smiled gently. "Because trust is all we have left." Slowly, Thane lowered his weapon, his followers following suit. The battlefield fell silent, the air thick with anticipation. "Very well," Thane conceded. "Show me this world worth fighting for." Cale extended his hand, offering not just a gesture of peace, but a symbol of unity. Together, they walked toward the horizon, setting aside their differences to forge a new path. News of their reconciliation spread rapidly, inspiring others to follow suit. Cities rebuilt themselves, trade routes reopened, and cultures blended in unprecedented ways. The Forge became a beacon of hope, its power harnessed for the greater good. Cale's dream of a united galaxy seemed within reach, though challenges remained. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but Cale faced it with unwavering determination. Years later, Cale stood on a hill overlooking a thriving city, its lights twinkling like stars. The Forge's energy still pulsed faintly within him, a constant reminder of the responsibility he bore. Thane had become a trusted advisor, his transformation a testament to the power of redemption. Cale's legacy lived on, not through conquest or domination, but through the bonds he had forged. As he gazed at the horizon, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. The galaxy was far from perfect, but progress was possible. And that, he realized, was enough. Join the journey of Commander Cale Voss in The Eternal Forge Dash. Subscribe now for more epic tales of heroism and sacrifice.